Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 24th February 2022. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 9 topics which are very much relevant from our UPSC point of view. So let's get started with our discussion with the quote. So again, today's quote is also a motivational quote, especially to motivate you because prelims it is very near. So I am going to motivate you every day such that at least some of aspirants they will get motivated and they will study well and they will try to clear UPSC prelims. So if you see the quote today, it mainly says that all your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. So if you have the courage to pursue UPSC, so if your dream it is to clear UPSC and to become IAS IPS officer, then your dream will come true if only you have the courage to pursue them. So please be courageous and please do hard work and try to achieve your dreams. And you have to become IAS officer and IPS officer. So we are wishing a very all the best from our Rathod's IAS side. Right? And now let us try to see the first topic. So title says, budget lacks the power to transform services. So especially this article which is mainly focusing on the thing, the budget which is not talking about this power or electricity sector. Actually this electricity sector which is mainly linked with education as well as health. So if you're talking about health, now due to this COVID-19 pandemic, we understand what are the loopholes in our health sector. We do not have proper beds, we do not have proper infrastructure. Right? So if you want to improve our outcome in health sector, so we need to interconnect them with electricity. Because without proper electricity, we do not go for operations. And without proper electricity, even air conditions, they will not be working. And even some essential infrastructure in the hospital that will not work. And even if you're talking about education, now we are focusing on digital education. And government is mainly taking many steps for promoting of digital education. But on another side, government which is not focusing on electricity. But if there is no proper focus on electricity, how we can go for keeping charging for our instruments like tablets, mobile phones, laptops. So whenever we are focusing on this digital education, we need to focus on ensuring of proper electricity as well. So that is the thing which mainly highlighted in this article. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So every day, yesterday also we discussed one topic regarding budget and today also one topic regarding budget. Already these are the things I already discussed with detailed analysis of budget in our budget session. So if you have not watched that lecture, so please try to watch that. I gave you many insights that will be helpful for writing of your mains answer for sure. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So author mainly says that in our Union Budget 2022-23, which mainly demonstrate a clear intent to prioritize investments, especially in clean energy. So we are mainly talking about clean energy, right? In our budget also they focused that we need to attract more investments in this clean energy or green energy, and we are mainly focusing on sustainable development. So why we are focusing on this clean energy or green energy? Because our Prime Minister who made a statement in COP26, Conference of Parties 26, that we are going to achieve carbon neutrality or net zero by 2070. To achieve this target, we need to take some steps. Okay, so those steps are mainly reflected in this year budget. We are mainly focusing to attract more investments in this green energy, and we are mainly focusing on sustainable development. And here, author mainly says that electricity and development sectors, they need to be more integrated approach to achieve the vision. Okay, whenever we want to achieve our vision, so we need to focus on electricity and even some important developmental sectors. So this is the one important thing which mainly highlighted by author. And if you are talking about reduction, so in which areas there is reduction of our budgetary allocation which is mainly seen. So first one is if you are talking about health, and second one we are going to talk about education. So if you are focusing on health especially, so this year budget which mainly witnessed a 16% of increase in estimated budget allocation if you are comparing with the last year. So when we are comparing with the last year allocation, So this year we see there is 16% of increasing of budgetary allocation, and we are mainly focusing on medical and as well as public sector or public health spending. But if you're talking about here overall the health had been increased budgetary allocation, it is like 16%. But if you see on another side, here medical and as well as public health spending, which mainly reduced by 45% in this budgetary allocation. And if you are focusing on this education sector on second side, so if you see on this education sector, so here this education sector also witnessed like 11.86 increasing of budgetary allocation. On another side, you can see here there is a push which is mainly seen regarding this digital education. So already our Prime Minister who came up with this e-Vidya program, and this program which is mainly focusing on boosting of online learning. And whenever we are focusing on this digital education and whenever we are coming up with the new programs for promoting of this online learning, and we can see there is a reduced allocation of like 35% in this education sector. So despite of increasing of estimates, especially in this health and education sector, so overall it mainly contributes just 2% of budgetary allocations annually. So if we want to ensure, for example, for better healthcare and for better education, so we need to focus on other things like electricity as well. So this is the thing which mainly highlighted here. So now let us try to understand what is the role of reliable energy. So if we are talking about role of reliable energy, it is widely recognized that availability of electricity, which is a very important for the proper delivery of health and as well as education services. So even though you are increasing the budget allocation for this health and education, if you are not focusing on other things like electricity, so we can see there will be the decreasing of outcome on health and as well as education sector. So if we want to ensure proper availability or proper improvement of delivery of services in the health and energy, we need to focus, okay, health and education, we need to focus on this energy as well. And if we want to achieve the 74% of sustainable developmental goals, they are also interlinked with universal access to reliable energy. So even if you want to achieve our sustainable development goals, okay, so there are about 17 sustainable development goals are present, and you have to by heart that for sure, and let me know which are those 17 sustainable developmental goals in our comment box. So to achieve these sustainable development goals also, we need to have universal access to this reliable energy. And despite of this, about 44% of schools in India and 25% of India's health sub-centers and some primary healthcare centers, they are not properly having electricity, they are unelectrified. So this is one cause of concern. And whenever there is a lack of integration of electrification requirements, then what happens? We cannot see proper outcome in these sectors. And next one is, government is mainly coming up with a number of developmental policies. Okay, on another side, government is coming up with a number of developmental policies, and important objectives of the government, it is to improve health, and as well as it is mainly focusing on improving of education services, and they are also focusing on access to reliable electricity, right? But here it is not focusing on electricity. It is one important cause of concern, and this is a thing which mainly highlighted in this article. Okay, whenever there is no proper electricity in the education facilities, and if there is no proper electricity in healthcare services, then what happen? So there will be a decreasing of outcome. So what is the need? The need here it is to come up with centralization decision making. So we need to come up with centralized decision making such that here state have the responsibility, and at the central level, that is at the national level also, here central need to take some responsibility, and here both center and the state level, they need to provide reliable energy services. Okay, and what is the important challenge here is there is no proper data that is available. So this is the one important factor that is leading to lack of focusing on this energy sector. So what are the systemic gaps that are present? First one is there is no proper data. So this is the first important thing I can highlight here. And second one is, if you are talking about finances, there is no proper finances that is allocated, especially for this electricity supply. And the next one is, there is also a lot of gaps that can be seen in the critical supply departments as well. So these are the challenges that need to be addressed to improve outcome or to improve the delivery of services in this health and as well as education sector. So this is the gist of this topic, and I hope it is very much clear. Now let us try to see the next topic. It is regarding turning to trade winds. Actually, this article, which is mainly focusing on, recently we came up with our trade ties with UAE, United Arab Emirates, right? So we already discussed this topic number of times. So this is the article which is mainly talking about this. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. And this type of topics are very important from your mains. For sure, you can get a mains question regarding this CEPA, that is Comprehensive Economic Partnership, in your prelims and even in your mains. So already we discussed about this CEPA, that is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So it is your responsibility to do revision, and let me know some important points regarding what is this CEPA in comment box. So this is the second question. And if you see the context, it mainly says that India last week announced, we announced, that is Government of India announced that we are going to sign this CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So CEPA mainly stands for Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with UAE, United Arab Emirates. And in this context, India needs to strengthen its ties. In this context, India needs to strengthen its trade ties with existing partners by lowering the tariff walls. That means, what is the tariff? Tariff means nothing but duties or import duty or export duty, which is mainly imposed by the government. For example, let us take, there are two countries, this country 1 and country 2. So this country 2, which is mainly importing some goods from country 1. So in the country 2, government of that country 2 will be imposing import duty. So whenever if there is any trade pact which mainly signed between these two countries, means there will be zero tariff or very low tariff that will be imposed, such that will be helpful for the trade between these two countries. So here, whenever we are coming with this type of trade ties, then we can go for decreasing of this tariff, so that we will be having favorable access for our exports, such that it will be helpful for trade and even economic output between these two countries. But if you go to background, let us go back 2 years. Let us go back 2 years. So before 2 years, actually we do have good trade, good economic outcome, but due to this COVID-19 pandemic, we went for imposition of restrictions regarding movement, regarding exports, everything. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic that entered into our lives, that mainly shaken this interconnected world. So already you know that one country will be dependent upon another country for its needs, because no country in the world which is self-sufficient. So it have to depend upon another country, mainly to ensure the proper needs of the people they are mainly seen. So what happened because of this COVID-19 pandemic? So almost all the countries, they shut down their borders, and even they imposed national-wide lockdowns, everything. So because of this, what happened? They even imposed restriction on the travel, and even they imposed restriction on the entry of other people from the other countries as well. So, and even if you're talking about Indian context, we came up with this Atmanirbhar Bharat, and our government, which mainly talked about the self-reliance. And even due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so many people, they do not have proper income and they do not have proper livelihoods. So what happened? We also saw there is a depressed domestic consumption, and even this year budget says that the private consumption had been decreased drastically. And because of all these things, almost all the countries' economy had been fall down, and almost all the countries, they faced this recession type of the thing, and even they had a very, very low economic output. So in this backdrop, our government now renewed to push towards this bilateral free trade agreement, that is agreements between the two countries. That is, bilateral means agreement between the two countries. So whenever we are having this bilateral free trade agreements, it is one of the welcome step, because it will be helpful for boosting of trade and economic outcome between the two countries. And not only that, it also even strengthen the trade ties as well. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this CEPA between India and UAE, so already UAE, that is United Arab Emirates, which is already India's third largest trading partner. It is India's third largest trading partner. So whatever the facts that are present in this box, that will be very important for your mains, because this is a data point. If you want to write any answer regarding So what is this CEPA which mainly signed between India and UAE? So what will be the impact on our Indian economy? So in this way you can get questions in your IR and even in your economy section, that is GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. So for this you have to write some data. So if you are not having any data, means how can you say that yes, recently trade pact had been done and how it will be having some impact? So if you have some data, then only you can substantiate your argument, right? So for that at least you need data like 2 to 3 points. So if you're talking about this UAE, it is already the third largest trading partner of India, and we already have the bilateral trade of $59 billion. So this is the data according to 2019-2020, that is like before this COVID-19 period, or we can say like in the first wave of this COVID-19. So if you're talking about India's exports to UAE, it is like $29 billion, that is in the pre-pandemic fiscal year. And UAE also supplied India with $10.9 billion worth of crude oil. So we used to get crude oil from this UAE. And two partners, through this bilateral trade agreement, they want to increase their trade to $100 billion. Okay, so India and UAE want to increase their trade to $100 billion, and this can be done within next 5 years. So this is a target of trade between India and UAE through this agreement. And in this way we can say like India is also expecting much investment flows and even remittances. So how can we get remittances? Remittances means whenever the Indian citizens who are mainly going to UAE and there they will be doing some work, and if they are doing work there, they will be getting salary, and that money will be sent back to the families who are present in India. So that is called as remittances, and India is one of the largest country to get the remittances. Okay, so this is the one important fact. So even here India, which is mainly expecting to attract more investment flows and even remittances from this UAE. And next one is, if you are having this type of multiple trade pacts or free trade agreement with other countries, then it will provide an opportunity for India, especially to revive our economic outcome, and even it will be helpful for increasing of our trade, and even it will be helpful for soft power as well, and even it will be helpful for trade ties with the international communities as well. Okay, so this is the gist of this topic, and I hope it is very much clear. Now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding a reductionist approach. So this article mainly talking about NCDs. So if you have completed your basic static portion of science and technology, there you will be having a topic called as diseases. So in that diseases, we will be studying like communicable diseases and non-communicable diseases. So this disease, it is very important in this situation due to this COVID-19 and Nipah virus, recently Lassa fever that is seen in news. So if you are talking about what is the difference between these communicable and non-communicable diseases. So communicable disease means, for example, if I am suffering from cold or cough, or for example Nipah virus, or for example COVID-19. So if any other person who is coming in contact with me, for example, let me take my family as example, and whenever they are coming in contact means, so I have the ability to transmit this virus or this bacteria that I am suffering to my family members. So that means whenever any person who is suffering from any disease, that can be easily transmitted to another person, either to direct contact or either through, for example, to contaminated water and food. So in this way here, these type of diseases are called as communicable diseases. So you can ask me like which are the examples, for example, recent COVID-19, Nipah virus. So these are some important diseases that can be transferred from one person to another person easily. And if you are talking about non-communicable diseases, for example, if I am suffering from this non-communicable diseases, if any person who is coming in contact with me, so there is no transmission of disease from me to another person. So these type of diseases are called as non-communicable diseases. So per se, I can talk about heart disease, hypertension. I can talk about diabetes mellitus. So these are the two things commonly known by every person. For example, liver disease, kidney disease, whatever the disease that I am facing, like organ failure, that cannot be transmitted from one person to another person easily. So those type of diseases are called as non-communicable diseases. So this is some background that you need to remember. So what is this article talking about? So author mainly says that to tackle with these non-communicable diseases, because these non-communicable diseases, they are the one important reasons for the increasing of death, not only in India but also throughout the country, because diabetes mellitus and hypertension, heart diseases, so these are the some important causes for the increasing of deaths. So what happened to address these non-communicable diseases? What is the approach which is followed by the government? It is a reductionist approach. It is not taking as a population alone. So our government, which is mainly taking individual level approach rather than total community level approach. So this is a thing which mainly said by author. And now let us try to understand what author want to say regarding this reductionist approach. So these diseases are highly in use. So here you have to know about these diseases. So recently what happened, sleep apnea is also in use. Sleep apnea means nothing but sometimes whenever any older person who is sleeping, for example, let us take per se like your grandfather or grandmother, after sleeping they will be making some snoring noise. So in this snoring, what happens, sometimes they will not get proper oxygen that is required. So because of this, that will lead to the death during the sleep. That is called as sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea. So it is also in use, and this is also NCD. So here you can connect this article with the recent current affairs as well, such that you will be having an holistic way. So now let us try to see what is this author mainly talks about. So population health, it is more important than just the health of individual. Okay, if you're talking about health, we can see health at a level of population. That means we are taking a larger people in concern. And next one is we can talk about individual level. Okay, so if you are focusing on the health at individual level, it is not much effective. We need to take consideration of health at a population level. So population health, it is more than just the health of an individual. So because if you are talking about suicide rates, we are not talking about it individual level, but so and so country which is having this suicide level, or so and so state which is having this suicide percentage. So whenever we are talking about the suicide rates, they are example of distinction between the population as well as individual health. We are not taking it individual level. For example, let us take per se in this villages, we saw like 10 farmers, they went for suicide, and throughout the India like 400 to 500 farmers or 4,000 to 5,000 farmers, they went for suicide this year. So that means we are mainly counting the suicides as a population level but not at the individual level. So if you want to understand the difference between this individual level and population level, so we have a good example, that is suicide rates. Suicide rates that we are mainly counting at the population level but not at the individual health level. So if we are talking about individual health level, individual having different etiology. So etiology means nothing but different disease. For example, some people they will be having diabetes mellitus, some people they will be having kidney disease, some people they will be having heart disease. So this etiology which is very much unique. For example, some people having cardiac disease along with diabetes mellitus. Some people will be having multiple organ failure. So some people who are suffering from this NCDs, that is non-communicable disease, they will be having their own unique etiology. And if you are talking about population rates of suicides, they tend to display remarkable stability over the time. Over the time, we are seeing the population rates of suicide, we are seeing there is a stability here. Okay, so if you are talking about how government which is going to approach this NCDs, non-communicable disease, author says that, so whenever government which is dealing with this NCDs, non-communicable diseases, they are mainly following these individual policy measures. They are not focusing on population level as a total. They are mainly following individualistic policy measures. And in this individualistic policy measures, they are mainly focusing on Indian public health. Okay, they are mainly focusing on especially maternal health, child health and infectious disease. So these are the some important areas which are mainly focused by Indian public health policy. So if you are talking about mother health, we are having different schemes, and even in this budget which mainly talks about Mission Vatsalya, and they mainly talked about PM Poshan. So they are mainly focusing on the mother health, that is maternal health and as well as child health, and even they are focusing on these infectious diseases, right? And we are having this vaccination program, that is universal vaccination program, that is Indradhanush program. So they are mainly focusing on some important diseases, but they are not at all focusing on this non-communicable diseases. Okay, so if you are coming up to this non-communicable diseases and some chronic illness, So chronic illness means that the illness that you are facing from the long period of time. So there is no proper strategy that is mainly followed by the government. And even because of this NCDs, non-communicable diseases, that we are seeing there is a huge economic cost and as well as huge productivity loss that is mainly seen due to this non-communicable diseases. And if you're talking about especially the what is a policy that is mainly followed by our government is individualistic policy. So in this individual policy, they are mainly going for screening. First, they need to diagnose which disease they are suffering from. For example, if there is any disease which is mainly related to heart, means we need to go for doing of ECG, electric cardiogram, and we can go for 2D echo. So these are some diagnostic tests that are present for the screening of this heart disease. So we are going for NCD screening, that is non-communicable disease screening, and we are going for management infrastructure, and later on we are going for wellness and lifestyle interventions and patient referral mechanism. So these are some individual measures. So if you are going to see one case study which is given in this article, that is regarding Netherlands. So what happened in Netherlands? In Netherlands in 2007, Ministry of Health of Netherlands, they came up with the ideas to improve public health. Okay, they came up with the ideas to improve the public health, and they mainly focused by exploring the interrelationship between health and as well as other health related sectors. Okay, they mainly came up with some policy, and this policy that is not individualistic earlier in 2007, and they want to focus on economy, housing, social cohesion and as well as environment. But soon the policy mainly turned from population based towards individual based. They mainly focused on personalized medical health care, and they focused on health insurance, and they mainly dominated by healthcare professionals. Initially it was like population based, and later on it turned towards individualistic base. So in the same way, if you're talking about India's approach regarding this NCDs, okay, in the same way if you're talking about India's approach towards this NCDs, it is also focusing on same individualistic manner. So we are focusing on health and wellness centers, and we are focusing on health insurance scheme, and we are having some NCD control programs. Okay, so these are mainly based on this individualistic thing. Okay, and even if you're talking about in this individualistic thing, so we are seeing there is a private sector which is mainly having more benefits. Okay, because here they are going for having some self-test, self-diagnostic centers, and even they are providing over-the-counter medicines, and even they are focusing on lifestyle change gimmicks. So because of this, here private sector which is having a large number of profits rather than compared to that of this public sector. So here in this individualistic, or we can say like in this reductionist approach, they are mainly focusing on medical and as well as healthcare professionals for all public health solutions, and they are mainly tackling this NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases, across the different ranges of sector beside the health. So because of this, it is not having a proper outcome that is seen in this decreasing of this NCDs. So in this context, what is the need? The need here is we need to come up with this population based policy rather than this individual based policy. So we need to focus on other sectors like environment, housing, drinking water, sanitation, etc., such that it will be helpful for multiple trillions of people by 2030, because here this NCD which is mainly causing loss to number of people in the country and throughout the world. So we need to come up with this population based and socially embedded approaches here to tackle with these challenges of NCD, non-communicable disease. And finally, we need to go for digitalization, and we need to mobilize the resources, and we need to focus on especially social health determinants. Okay, so these are some important things which mainly said in this article. And now let us focus on the next topic. It is regarding one recent study of impact of second wave of coronavirus regarding the poverty. Okay, extreme poverty, that is penury. Okay, penury is the word which mainly talks about extreme poor or extreme poverty. So this is the one vocabulary word you have to know. So here we are also going to discuss some vocabulary words, because especially for the beginners who start this reading of newspaper, so they will be getting some different words. Okay, so for that, if you know some meanings of that word, then it will be very easy to understand that topic as well. So if you are talking about context, it mainly says that due to this second wave of COVID-19, okay, second wave of this pandemic in India, So in the initial wave, in the first wave, we went for national-wide imposition of lockdown. But in the second wave, we didn't came up with this national-wide imposition of lockdown. But in some areas, wherever the cases are high, they went for the partial restrictions, partial movement like night curfews, etc. So even though no full imposition of this national-wide lockdown in the second wave of coronavirus, so even though there is no proper imposition of this lockdown, so there was some significant effect that is seen on economic distress and even hunger among the poor. So this is a study which is mainly done in 14 states. So states says that in the study which is mainly done in 14 states, and about 6,500 respondents who mainly participated in this study, they mainly says that even though there is no imposition of lockdown due to the second wave of coronavirus, it had a significant impact on poverty and as well as hunger in the people. It also led to some economic distress in the poor. So this is about the study. And now let us try to see some details. If you see details, it mainly says that, so this survey mainly done by Hunger Watch, okay. Hunger Watch, which mainly commissioned by Right to Food Campaign and the Center for Equity Studies, and they came up with studies between December 2021 and January 2022, and this study which is mainly focused to evaluate economic distress because of this second wave of COVID-19. So the two organizations which mainly conducted Hunger Watch 1, okay, from October to December, and this study it is Hunger Watch 2, that is between January and December and January, and they mainly said that about 68% or 66% of respondents of this second survey, they said that their incomes had decreased in this their incomes had been decreased in the second wave also, whenever we are comparing with this pre-pandemic level. Okay, so this is the thing, and now let's try to see next topic. So actually I got this image from the Delhi edition in page number 5. So this temple, it is nothing but this Khajuraho temple. Okay, so if you have completed your static portion of art and culture, especially in the temple architecture, you will be having different types like Nagara style, Dravida style and Vesara style. So in this also we will be having different schools. So one school here is Khajuraho temples. And now let us try to see some facts here. So you have to remember this type of images whenever you're seeing in this newspaper. You have to know there's some background, and we can connect that with our static syllabus. And this is a way to study our images as well, and you can get questions from these images as well in your prelims especially. So if you're talking about some facts regarding these Khajuraho temples, so where you can see these Khajuraho temples, they are mainly seen in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, Khajuraho temples in Madhya Pradesh, they are among the most beautiful medieval monuments in the country. They are most beautiful medieval monuments in the country, and they were built between 1950 and 1050 AD, and these temples were built by Chandela dynasty. So this is one important prelims fact. And these monuments, which are mainly include Hindu temples and as well as even Jain temples. And the temple site, which is mainly located within Vindhya mountain range. So you have to draw the map of India, and you have to locate where this Vindhya Satpura mountains are located. And on these Vindhya mountains, we have this type of Khajuraho temples. And these temples also got UNESCO's World Heritage Site status in year 1986. And there is a separate chapter in your Nitin Singhania regarding this World Heritage Sites. So if you go to that topic, then you can get this point. And these temples are famous for the Nagara style of temple architecture. So these are some important facts that you need to remember regarding this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding solar fences. So how can you use this article? So whenever you are writing answers regarding man-animal conflict. So already you know that because of this railways, so there are number of jumbos, that is elephants, they lost their life. And recently last year, Assam government, which mainly came up with a plan called as Plan B. Okay, it is a Plan B. It is mainly to save elephants. You can talk about some advantages or applications of solar energy. So you can also use this solar energy applications, that is to save elephants also. So this is the point that you can expect in your prelims. So now let us try to see context. If you see context, it mainly says that railways have begun the installation of hanging solar fences at sensitive forest areas. So wherever the movement of elephants which is seen, or elephant corridors, so in that areas whenever there are railway tracks are seen, so if at all train which is coming in this direction, means what happens, sometimes elephants may come in the way and those will be hit by this trains, and that will lead to the death of these elephants. And recently in this Valayar station there are 3 elephants which mainly died due to this railways. So Southern Railway was installing this hanging solar fence for the first time to prevent elephant movement across the tracks. Mainly to prevent the elephant movements across the tracks, now we are going to have this solar fencing. So actually this solar fence which is mainly used in the cities, especially around the houses, and even the solar fences that are mainly used around the crops. Now even railways, they are going for this solar fences, especially to save the lives of elephants. Okay, and if you see why this step, because there is also increase in the demand to check the loss of wildlife on the tracks. So mainly to save the lives of wildlife on the tracks, here this step it is very important. And even if you want to go for setting up of the solar fences, it is also cost effective as well. And whatever the shock it is given by the solar fence, it is a very mild shock, so that it will not threat the elephant life. So these will be the advantages of this solar fencing as well. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Tamil Nadu bans trips by tourists from Kerala via Mulli. Okay, it is about tourists. Okay, so what happened here? Tamil Nadu government which mainly banned tourist movement. Okay, it is mainly banned the tourist movements from the Kerala through Mulli in Attapalli, okay, Attapadi. So in this area there was mainly the tourists which are mainly going in this way. Whenever they are using some vehicles, actually it is mainly causing some harm for this wildlife, especially to prevent danger to this wildlife, especially elephants also present here. So this is a step it is mainly taken by the Tamil Nadu government, and you can see this topic also, and this is also important from your environment and ecology. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding money laundering, a global problem. So if you have gone through your static syllabus of UPSC mains, you will be also seeing this money laundering. It is one important topic. So you have to know money laundering. So I think you know about what is money laundering and what are the basics regarding this money laundering. So if you don't know about this, please let me know in comment box. I will be coming up with a separate video of this money laundering as well. So here why it is in news? Because government informed Supreme Court that about rupees 18,000 crore was confiscated under this Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Okay, so about 18,000 crore money which is mainly confiscated from this Vijay Mallya through this Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So here what happened, there is an increasing of money laundering that is mainly seen, and even United Nations came up with a report, and this report mainly says that about dollar 2.1 trillion, okay, which mainly accounts for 3.6% of our global GDP. So this much amount of money, it is money laundered. Okay, so this is according to this UN report, and you can save this data for your reference. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Milan. Okay, Milan. So this article it is very, very important. Milan, it is a naval exercise. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So Indian Navy, okay, title context says that Indian Navy will host its biggest maritime exercise, and in this exercise which mainly involves 35 countries, so it is called as a very biggest maritime exercise, and it is going to be held between February 4th till March 4th, and it is mainly seen on the coast of Visakhapatnam. And in this exercise it mainly includes anti-submarine warfare drills for the first time. And if you see the aim, so what is the aim? The aim of this exercise, it is to expose, if it is to show operational skills, and even it want to instill the best practices and procedures. And this exercise which also helps to enable doctrinal learning of maritime domain, and it will be also helpful for the professional interaction between the countries. And if you see the theme, it mainly says that camaraderie, cohesion and collaboration, and important aim it is to promote collective responsibility of maritime security, and finally they need to focus on safe and as well as secure seas. So where it is going to happen? It is going to happen in the coast of Visakhapatnam instead of Andaman and Nicobar. And Visakhapatnam has been chosen as the venue this year because of scale of exercise, and we can see more ships will be participating here. And for this we need a wider sea and as well as we need anchorage space. So they selected this Visakhapatnam for this year exercise. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Cobra Warrior. So this is also one important exercise. So now let us try to see this topic, and this is also important from our international relations and even defense. So if you see context, it mainly says that the Cobra Warrior exercise 2022, it will be held from 6th to 27th March 2022. And in this exercise, 5 LCA, that is light combat aircraft, that is our Tejas, will be going to participate. And which is a transport support will be provided by C-17 aircraft. You have to remember this. And if you see some details, it mainly says that this Cobra Warrior, it is mainly aimed at providing operational exposure, and even they want to share best practices, and will also helps to combat capability and forge bonds of friendship between the participating countries as well, and will mainly demonstrate maneuverability and operational capability of LCA, that is light combat aircraft Tejas. So now let us try to see some facts regarding this Cobra Warrior exercise. So it is one of the largest annual Royal Air Force exercise, and it is mainly focusing to train pilots and even other air specialists. And if you see this exercise, which mainly involve air-to-air operations per se, like air interceptions and mock dog fights, and even they will have some study regarding this ground attacks as well. Okay, so it is for the first time LCA Tejas, it is mainly participating in this international air exercise. So these are the some important things that you need to remember regarding this topic. And now let us try to see the yesterday's questions. So first question is regarding bio-asphalt. It is eco-friendly to use bio-asphalt for surfacing of the roads. Yes, this statement is absolutely correct. And next one is, unlike traditional asphalts, bio-asphalt, it is not based on fossil fuels. Yes. And next one is, bio-asphalt can be made from organic waste materials. Yes, we can make. And bio-asphalt can be from non-renewable sources, but it is not. Okay. And if you see the correct option, that will be 1, 2 and 3. And next question is regarding oil spills. So which bacterial strain developed from natural isolates by genetic manipulations that can be used for treating of oil spills? That is our Pseudomonas. You have to remember this. And now let us try to see today's questions. So before seeing this today's questions, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear this UPSC CSE, and I will suggest you to join this prelims test series and as well as a mains answer writing course that we launched in this Rathod's IAS Academy. And in the first week of March, this new batch of this mains answer writing course will be started. And this is exclusively beneficial because this is a 1-year course. And in this 1 year, we are going to complete GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 completely. And you are going to write at least one answer from those each and every topic which is present in this GS subject, GS syllabus. And we are also focusing on case study and as well as essay on every Sundays. So from Monday to Saturday, there will be one question will be given and you are supposed to write answer and you have to send back to our mail ID. So there will be the evaluation and one-to-one mentorship will be given for you. And detailed micro listing of topics will be given. And apart from that, we also launched an entire foundational course for UPSC 2023. And in this course, we are providing like more than 700 hours of video lectures. And in this, we are going to cover recent current affairs along with previous year's prelims and as well as mains questions. And this will be exclusively beneficial. And even if you are a beginner, if you have zero knowledge regarding these subjects, after watching these videos, we will ensure you that you will be thorough with that so-and-so subject. And if you are already done with the foundational course anywhere, and if you are weak in so-and-so subjects, individual subjects like economy, history, geography like that, you can take the individual courses as well. Okay, details of all these courses are given in description box, and you have to visit our website to watch the demo videos. If you want to talk to me, you can call to this number 8074765513. And at last, there are 2 questions which are given for your practice. So try to read these questions and give me your answer in the comment box. Don't forget about this. So by this I am concluding. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.